really, honestly, not too familiar on the matchups for. But this straight away is going to be a value grind fest, and I imagine the Priest has a little bit more gas in this matchup, even with Benene's highly valuable mid-range shaman, elemental shaman, with, of course, those Servants of Kalamos being able to pick up extra value.
Exactly. The Servant of Kalamos now, after the change of the keywords on some cards, and in this case on the Jade Spirit, because now we can see it actually spells elemental on it, it is giving a lot of gas to the shaman. But at the same time, when you compare it to Ben's deck, a Lyra alone can just generate so much value. It's just like a new deck.
Does Benene have weapon destruction in this deck? Can you find?
Let's check. Wait, Benene is playing the shaman. There's a gluttonous ooze.
Okay, so that would be important because Ben actually has a lot of value engines in this deck. You said Lyra is a value engine. Free from Amber is a great value engine. Crystalline Oracle even is a little bit of a value engine. But of course, the big one is that Medivh. And if Benene didn't have the weapon destruction to be able to deny some of that, then that would be a big, big plus for Ben, even to have it in his opening hand here. But as you can see, he doesn't have too much to do in response to this Northshire Cleric, does Benene.
The Northshire Cleric actually sets up Benene in a very peculiar spot because you can't really use your hero power. It gives a 50% chance for Ben to draw a card. If you get the 1/1, he just trades and heals it up. If he gets the Healing Totem, he just attacks into it and leaves it up.
It's worse than that. It's 100%, right? Because either of the other 0/2s, you just attack into it and then heal up the totem again.
That's true, but with, in this case, when it's a Healing Totem, you don't have to invest in it.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Healing Totem is definitely the nightmare to have on the board when there's a Cleric hanging around.
So
pass. Hard pass.
It doesn't really surprise me. It's something that you see often against the Priest with a Control Shaman, and this is kind of like a Control Shaman in this situation. So, a little bit unlucky. Ben has this, well, let's say tempo advantage with this Priest deck against the Shaman. Not something you see often, and now Ben is again facing the same problem. None of those cards are really impactful in the situation, and leaving up an Elemental on the board is not something you want to see, but at the same time you know that the opponent doesn't have any Power Word Shields in his hand because you would already have it played. Yep. Unless there's a next-in Lyra with Power Word Shields.
What? Oh yeah, that's possible. Coin out a Lyra with Power Word Shield. That would be insane this early on.
There's the Healing Totem. Benene will not be happy about this outcome of the hero power.
Ooh. Running into a little bit of greed, and his hands just run out of steam. Even that Lyra would be one turn away with the coin if it was present, but he can start sticking Radiant Elementals to the board. Benene is showing for now that he has no real way to contest these 3 health minions. So if Ben wants, he can keep going here. It looks like he's interested in keeping the board clear for now. As we mentioned, he could have just left that Healing Totem hanging around and not forced himself to deal with it. And I don't believe there's any Flame Tongue Totems in Benene's deck to punish for that, right?
Yeah, I'm just checking, but I don't think so.
No, there's no Flame Tongue.
There's literally no synergy. And it's actually interesting because if you leave up totems for your opponent, it messes up his Volcano as well.
Yep, very true. Yeah, actually, Control Shamans kind of flip the totem dynamic on their head because against an aggressive Shaman, you're actually forced to over-clear against them to prevent things like Flame Tongue Totem getting value. But you made a great point, which is against Control Shaman, you actually devalue their best AoE card, the Volcano, by just leaving those 0/2s that can't attack on the board.
Even if you roll a Spell Power Totem, actually it doesn't really change much.
It makes it worse by 1. Yeah. You add 1 damage, but you add 2 health to your side of the board.
Exactly. So it's kind of awkward, but at the same time, Benene is only playing 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Volcano, and 2 Mars and Portals. So there is some access to AoE, but it's still not that big.
Right.
I think like Ben can just grind it out.
It's looking very much that way. He does have the tempo lead, but it's not going to be a tempo-based matchup. It's going to be a value-based matchup, and I think that's where this is going to go. I like this sequencing. Trades first with the Crystalline Oracle. He does have elementals in his deck to activate that. The Radiant Elemental, as well as the Crystalline Oracle, and Lyra herself is an elemental as well. But this is great sequencing. Got his random information first off the Crystalline Oracle, then traded with the Radiant Elemental, healed it up to get more information, and now finally I think we'll probably see this Northshire Cleric trade the way Ben has played this so far, although again, no way to actually leverage existing minions on the board in this deck for Benene, so you could take some greedy face attacks if you wanted to.
That's true, but at the same time I feel like Ben can just be really feeling free about what he has to do here. He knows he probably will win the end game, even with the additional 7 of Kalemos, like elemental drops. I don't feel like he can be outvalued in this situation. So not playing anything in this situation seems fine.
What if you Radiant Elemental and then go for coin free from Amber next turn? Ooh. Turn 6, 10 drop? That's big druid territory right there.
It is, but it's kind of risky. Like,
it is.
If your opponent has a lightning storm, there's a chance you can't really do this, right? If your opponent has a volcano, you actually overextend it pretty badly. And you...
3 minions into a volcano?
You want to keep the elemental in your hand for the Blaze Caller, right?
That's also true. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Which is odd to say, but that's actually what happens here. So.
Yeah.
Shadow War Pain. 19 cards are left in the deck, and it's only turn 5. It's pretty sick.
He's drawn so much already, and this Harrison lands as well. He's going to continue drawing. What this means is that with a very slow, grindy deck, Ben is going to have to set up a win condition because he's going to push himself to fatigue quicker here. Of course, the other upside of holding on to that free from Amber here is that he does have Medivh in his hand already, which of course is insane if you land free from Amber after Medivh comes down. Shadow of Pain being used there
he had
very liberally.
Yeah, he had to use it because otherwise he would overdraw something. I mean, unless he just uses the coin for nothing.
Yep.
So he wanted to ensure that the coin grabs him some tempo gain. In this matchup, it's not really that important.
I mean, Hot Spring Guardian, Manatide Totem, Jinyu Water Speaker.
I'm saying the tempo gain is not important.
I see, right, okay. I'd say Shadow of Pain is a super really powerful card.
Yeah. But the tempo gain here in this situation, the only difference, the only difference that it makes is a second way of making sure that your Hearthstone Jones doesn't die to a combination of cards.
Right.
Like Jade Claw and the attack from the 2/2 Golem.
Sure.
Jade Claw and a Lightning Storm are those 2 cards that are like mainly on his head, I think.
Sure.
But other than that, I don't really see a point in using the Shadow of Pain so early on.
He's going Radiant number 2 here. What's he looking to tempo out alongside this?
He needs to play the Elemental this turn just to guarantee
Blaze Caller right
next turn. And Blaze Caller on turn 7 in a deck that usually is not very proactive seems like a good choice.
So 7-10 health on the board right now. He could have chosen to go Glimmerroot as well, but that would have added up to 13 total health on the board, which means he'd be playing pretty much perfectly into Volcano at that point. Good decision to hold it back, I think, in the end. If this board gets cleared, though, he's set up his Blaze Caller to just slap Benene in the face here, which isn't exactly the ideal target in this kind of matchup, but probably worth doing just to develop the 6/6 anyway. You're curving into Medivh. Seems pretty solid.
Your opponent still needs to deal with that 6/6 before he deals with Medivh, or if he deals with the weapon and not deals with the Medivh and the 6/6, that's actually a lot of pressure.
Right. Ooh.
Yeah, with this deck, I would say that you have some infinite value.
Oh, yes.
Shadow Visions into Elise's pack is something that actually grinds out another deck. So Benene's situation is kind of dire, even if he goes really far with those Jade Golems. The AoE that Ben has access to, the mind control, is just grinding it out on his own. And then if you add on top of that the Lyra's random card generation and Elise's packs, wow. I don't really know how to out-tempo that and out-value at the same time, because that's what Shaman has to do in this matchup.
It really is, yeah. And Aya, of course, is a very sticky minion that can come down and contest this, and the Jades are ramping up, but Ben has no shortage of answers, no shortage of proactive plays either. This is just a slam Medivh turn. If the Gluttonous Ooze is there, that's Benene just extending more to the board, which you can then leverage with the kind of the Dragonfire Potion kind of stuff that you have in hand right now. There's kind of no real downside to just taking this free roll, and there is no Gluttonous Ooze in hand for Benene, which means free from Amber is going to set off fireworks next turn.
What do you think about the trade, though? We know that there's no synergy in having mass minions on the board.
I think from a personal perspective, I think I would have been a little bit more aggressive this matchup. because of how good a start I have. Even in a control versus control matchup, by playing aggressive and putting pressure on your opponent, you actually reduce the value of some of their cards because they have to use them more liberally, right? Because you put them under pressure. But what I will say is that Ben set out a line very, very early in this match where he was just going to kill everything, and he stuck to that throughout. You know, he went trade into healing totem, heal it up, and then kill it afterwards instead of leaving it on the board. He Blaze Called a 0-2 spell damage totem instead of the face. Like, everything that he has done has focused on keeping that board clear. So as long as he sticks to it and remains consistent, I have no issue with it, even though I probably would have played in a different way.
All right, well, this seems like a pretty nutty turn if he goes for the 3 from Ember, but at the same time, your opponent kind of developed a board finally. So Dragonfire Potion, even if it kills your Blaze Caller, is not really terrible. But at the same time, you can grind out some additional value with the 3 from Ember as soon as possible. I like both decisions, to be fair. I don't feel like there's much of a difference, but at the same time, you can still develop a Glimmer Root after the AoE, so this might be correct.
And Ben, don't do it. Your big moment on camera. Don't be the first guy to fail a Glimmer Root in a revealed deck list format. All right, we got that. That would be the single most embarrassing thing you can do in Hearthstone. Like, worse than missing lethal by a long way.
Well, if someone is not used to playing Priest and Glimmer Roots, I can imagine they will just make a instinct pick because they are thinking, well, it's just Discovery. I just pick the best card, right?
Raven does that all the time.
Doesn't surprise me.
Genuinely, yeah. All right, 3 from Amber time this time. Well, Mind Control the 6/6, actually. It's the second biggest thing in the deck after Calamos.
It is. And
get it.
And Aya was already played.
Yep.
10 drop, let's go. Ooh. Well, actually, that's a really decent outcome.
It is. 10 drops are surprisingly bad since the old gods got introduced into the game.
Exactly.
5/7, 7/5, 6/6, and what's the one I'm missing? Oh, Yasharaj, of course, is an absolute massive high roll. But actually, it's really lowered the potential stats that you can get from those 10 drops. So just getting a 10-10 or 10-10 or 12-12 is a big, big win for you off Mind Control with Medivh.
This one is sick anyway. I'm guessing that next turn will just be 3 for Amber, just to add the Salt to the Wound and rub it in. Because there's no AoE after the Volcano was used that will be big enough to guarantee some kills on those huge minions. So 3 from Amber is actually just 8 mana, create 2 insane drops. And 8 drops are actually insane.
8 drops are beautiful, yes. 8 drop is kind of the magic number where a lot of powerful cards get printed because they're about as inexpensive as a card can get, still be played in a deck and not be completely broken, right? Like, for 9 drops or 10 drops to get played in a deck, they have to be absurdly powerful, whereas 8 drops can be really, really strong, not quite broken, but still get played because you have that ability to add something else into your turn for that 2 extra mana. So, you know, you've got your Tyrians, your Rag Light Lords, all these kind of really nice minions with heavy upside around that 8 mana slot.
Let's go, let's see that 3 from Amber. I would be really surprised if he would sacrifice the potential value with his last charge.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, you take an 8 drop off this all day long.
Woo. Oh my.
That Malagos is kind of tasty, but Deathwing's just a 12/12.
But Malagos doesn't die to its own Dragonfire Potion. Whoops. Well.
Hey, you got both.
He got both, yeah.
That was offered off the thing. That's awesome.
Not that really awesome for Ben. Now it seems like that charge from the weapon wasn't really that beautiful.
No, it was not.
Is that the worst possible 8 drop?
It's a good question.
I think
struggling
it is.
to think of a worse one, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Finally!
I like this.
Finally!
10 damage to the face. Deathwing almost sets up lethal next turn, but with the access to Potion of Madness,
right,
he's able to snap a Taunt Totem, an example, to get through with some damage.
Yep.
He's able to snap a smaller minion just to deal that 2 additional missing damage points for the kill with the Deathwing. So there are a lot of options, and especially with the Shadow Vision in hand as well, he's able to pick up a Shadow Ward Death. So there's literally, I think, not a single chance of not just having lethal next turn.
Hex is going to have something to say about that, though. It's a great pickup, and the slight heal from Benene with the Hot Spring Guardian is going to put one big taunt in the way, or one medium-sized taunt in the way. Chance of hero power for a Stoneclaw Totem as well. He can fight back here, but the problem he's going to run into is that Ben is quite happy to reset back to a value game at this point, right? Like, look at the difference in quality in the hands. Even if Ben couldn't have found lethal this turn, he's just quite happy to resort back to AoE and just redevelop again.
Good. I said there's no chance, but there is. A small roll of the 25% Thun Totem actually allows Benene to live another day. The Potion of Madness can snap the Elemental. So that's additional 2 damage that he can use now to trade to still extend his board control, and that is an awesome move.
Yep. Looks like a least time to me.
Yep. And then Shadow Vision probably, right?
Shadow Visions checks the, yeah, you see Ben just checking the size of his remaining pack there, seeing how unlikely getting that Ungoro pack out with the Shadow Visions is, decides to go for it, nails the pack. Just start jamming some Power Word Shields now, try and pick up the second pack or the second Shadow Visions. Why not? All right, just going to heal up instead.
Huh. Well, let's say the power level of Benene's cards are not really up to challenge.
No.
Up to the challenge. With a 5/5 and a 10/10 Behemoth. And you can't really roll a Doomsayer out of those minions as well. The frog stays a frog. You can't really uncharm it.
You can try and find damage from the Ungoro pack here for lethal, which is unlikely. There's Fire Plume Phoenix, and then there's 3 weapons, I believe, that do it. It's not a great chance. Potion of Madness would... No, Potion of Madness would still be slightly off in this position. So, I guess no real reason to go fishing for lethal at this point. Just continue your board control line. He's going to look for it
anyway.
Sure.
And that's...
Nope.
Nothing really interesting. But he got a Totolan again.
Totolan again. Oh, amazing. Sunkeeper Tarim doesn't seem like a very good card right now.
With that jungle paladin card? Decent.
Yeah, you kind of have a 10/10 though.
You can attack first and then play it.
Sure.
The net value that you gain is almost there.
Yeah, I like this. Just start jamming some Power Word Shields on things. Oh, there's another elemental we could have used for the Blaze Caller synergy as well. Forgot about the second Crystalline Oracle also having the elemental tag, but that's...
You did name it.
That's long... Did I?
Yeah, you did.
All right. Maybe I'm smarter than I think I am.
I wouldn't go that far.
Devolve gonna come down, just gonna make a mess of this board state. It was never, ever going to be good enough, even with the Spell Damage Totem and the Maelstrom Portal. Trying again. Anomalous.
Wow. Well, Anomalous actually, but there's not enough damage.
Not good enough.
4.
Not even with Stone Tusk Spore off the Maelstrom Portal.
Even if you would be able to kill that Anomalous, doesn't really change much.
Nope.
Like, the value fest from Ben in this situation, the Prix is just insane of generating infinite value. When I think about it, he can get free Ungoro packs, which is 15 cards.
Yep.
Just from this combination, and there's still the Lyra that we didn't see.
It's actually a very high chance once you get into your 3rd pack that one of those packs has given you another release, the Trailblazer as well. Because the way it's that it's weighted towards legendaries.
Exactly.
The value train never ends. But Ben picks up the first win with what is honestly one of the riskiest decks that I've seen brought to this tournament so far. We've seen Zetalot and one other player whose name escapes me right now bringing kind of a unique Dragon Priest list that also had the Orkanai Circle in there.
What was that?
To counteract aggro decks. But Ben has kind of brought an anti-control Priest, which is not something I was expecting to see by any means in this tournament at all, let alone going so deep in it as Ben is looking to go now.
You say anti-control, but still I think it struggles against Jade Druids.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Jade Druid is the ultimate asterisk that you can just put next to anything, right? And just say, you know, this your anti-control stuff doesn't work against this. But even then, if you get Medivh into free from Amber off against a Jade Druid, you've got a shot, right?
You get a shot, but those minions still need to have either really insane stats and will be allowed to kill his opponent next turn, basically.
Sure.
Or you will still get out-grinded. But at the same time, I like the deck. I like the Priest. I am hoping actually we're going to get to see more of it, and maybe a sweep as well. But in this case, facing a aggro Druid might be tough.
Agreed. The early game is there, like, don't get me wrong. He can hit Crystalline Oracles, he can hit, more importantly, Nausea Clerics, Radiant Elementals, Power Word Shields, those kind of combinations being strung together, keeping the Shadow Word Pain really just in fear of Vicious Fledgling. That is pretty much why he's keeping Shadow Word Pain in this matchup. He doesn't want to just get solo swept by the world's most irritating pink Flappy Bird.
And that's one of the most flexible cards actually against aggro Druid as well.
For sure.
It can kill a minion that has more HP than 3, which is better than a Wrath, an example, right? Because there's a lot of situations, it's a frequent situation that Benene will have like a minion that has 3-4 stats, an example. Dark Reaper is a 3-5, an example as well. So it's very flexible card. I'm not surprised that he kept it. And now he's going for the Shadow Vision just to ensure that he might just get another AoE card, because that's the MVP in this situation. Unfortunately, Shadow Vision doesn't work like a glyph. You can't go...
Oh, God. No, please, Lothar.
Yeah, you don't have the built-in Innervate in it.
Right.
So you can't go infinite with those Shadow Vision just until you get it again, something that you want.
Right.
So the options of Shadow Word Death and Power Word Shield are not that terrible. I'm guessing he was fishing for something else. But the Shadow Word Death, when he doesn't have it in hand, is actually pretty decent against the Hydra. That might come down at some point because he plays 2.
Yeah, he was probably fishing for Potion of Madness, that kind of stuff. I imagine just have some kind of impact on this board immediately. He already has 1 Dragonfire Potion, which should be able to sweep the board later in the game, but for now it's just a bit too slow. But just ends up rebuying the Shadow Visions here to dig again. But yeah,
that's something I dislike, to be fair.
I think I would have gone for one of the Shadow Words as well.
The problem with the fact that you just reuse the Shadow Vision for Shadow Vision is you lose a turn.
Yeah. All right, Ben, 2 for 2 on not whiffing your Glimmer Roots. First check passed. All right, the hand has actually slowed down a bit from Benene, so there is a small window for Ben, since he has the Shadow Word Pain, but he didn't take the Shadow Word Death off that first Shadow Visions that we were talking about, which would have given him kind of a full set of removal in hand, right? He would have the AoE, the small target removal, and the large target removal. So even now, those Hydras could end up ending the game if this board that he's built up already doesn't end up doing so.
Smart move by Benene. He knows that there's not really a lot of options for Ben to kill a 4-1 minion. Well, now he has it. Helps a little bit. To be fair, helps a lot.
He was dead without that draw.
Yeah.
I would have been 1 off, in fact. 6 on board, plus the 10, plus the hero power would have been the 11. But yeah, Potion of Madness helps enormously in this spot. And the pickup off the Glimmer Root, just being able to put something on board to contest. It was actually a good roll to pick up the Enchanted Raven in the end. But now are we going to see the punish for not taking that Shadow Word Death?
Well, he will have to play Shadow Vision again.
Right.
That means he's losing 2 HP in the process, most likely. Because he could have spent that mana to heal himself. And he needs to kill it. There are no freeze effects that you're able to just to play. Of course, the Priest of the Feast would be fantastic with the coin. But I feel like you need to go for the Shadow Vision this turn and just Shadow Word Death.
Benene's trying to invent any reason he can to trade here, and I think he's found one. I can't quite imagine what it is, because even coin Dragonfire Potion there doesn't do the job if you leave the 2-2 alive. But
yeah.
Benene obviously thought of some fringe scenario where leaving the 2-2 alive would end up killing his bedside Hydra. Ben gets the death, though. Second time of asking. He has Priest of the Feast and coin in hand, so if he now picks up Powered Shield, Potion of Madness again, he can start to make things happen from his perspective. But in the real world perspective that we actually live in, there's a second Bittertide Hydra waiting for him. That's just not going to get him there.
Yep, that's not good enough. He can play one spell, which is 3 points of health. Then heal, that's 5. That's not enough. Is there any way of any random card that can help here? Not really.
I don't see it. Lyra Coin is definitely the way you start. That's the only way. There's nothing random off the Crystalline Oracle that you can end up with. So in case you've forgotten about anything, this is definitely the way to explore. Gonna get the living mana off the Mind Vision and gonna reach for the bottom right. The game is gonna get squared up. As I mentioned, very, very greedy anti-control priest build. So the second the aggro deck came out, you saw that it just struggled to keep up.
Yeah, and you can think about maybe Ben was too safe. Actually, not too safe. He didn't go for that Shadow Word Pain on turn 2 when he could have killed a minion, right? Maybe milk out some value, and in this situation also heal himself in the process, because 1 minion that was getting killed by the Shadow Word Pain would have net him like around 6 HP.
I think from Ben's perspective, he was keeping it primarily to deal with the Vicious Fledgling, so he doesn't really want to be Shadow Word Painting a 1-2 early on. That's more where your Potion of Madness comes into play, I imagine. Another card that we never really mentioned the whole time is Dirty Rat. That's a card that he clearly has in there that can be
forgot about it.
Yeah, a little bit of a security blanket against aggro in the right matchups, but wasn't able to find those. I don't think we saw a single Dirty Rat get drawn in either of the matchups he played, which was slightly unusual because of how many cards he drew in the first matchup. But this now, queuing up his Freeze Mage, his pure Freeze Mage against Benene's aggro druid, double Arcanologist Doomsayer start. That is as good as it gets.
Actually not, so when you think about it, because the Doomsayer can be just played this turn as well to guarantee there will be no way of killing it. And otherwise, you'll have to keep it until turn 5. But at the same time, the double Arcanologist that he has changes that position.
Yeah, I mean, with double Arcanologist, he can actually fight for the board the honest way, just minion combat for a couple of turns here, and then that gives him enough time to cycle through his deck. He pulls a lot of the dead draws out of his deck by ripping the secrets with the Arcanologist, so his likelihood of hitting Frost Nova to pair with that Doomsayer is actually quite high at this point.
Markov Shah, again, a really good, let's say, help setup from Benene. On the previous game, he played the Mark on a minion to get it to 4-4, and he was really managing well the health points, so he was sure that there's no easy way of dealing with it with a hero power or even Shadow Madness or something like that.
Sure.
In this situation, Ben would have to use a Frostbolt to kill the 3-2, or double setup for a ping in this situation. So good management from Benene when it comes to that, when it comes to the buffs.
Ben considering Doomsayer now, he would lose it to Savage Roar in this position, but there's 4 damage in play, so he'd also lose it to Mark of the Lotus plus hero power. Although you can kind of consider that a win, because that would be a very slow turn from the opponent if all they did was play Mark of the Lotus and hero power and then up trading into your Doomsayer. It also, I mean, we have caster vision on this one, but it also blocks Innovate 5, which is actually quite a common play for aggro druid to do. It's one of the big power spikes they can have.
Yeah, especially with living mana.
Yeah, that feeling where you innovate living mana for the first time and it doesn't work as you were expecting.
Yeah. I think most people have done it, unless you have seen a streamer do it, and I guarantee you some of them made that mistake.
I mean, I know how it works, and I still do it sometimes. I think it's right in some situations. If you don't have anything to do on turn 3, I'll take 3 2/2s over nothing.
That's true. Depends on the matchup.
Yep.
If you play against a Pyro Warrior, I wouldn't blame you.
Yep, there you go. Doomsayer lands, Innovate Hydra was blocked. That all worked out perfectly for Ben in that spot. Now he gets to get ahead of the board again with his second Arcanologist. Barrier in the hand now will give him plenty of security, plenty of time to get through those Arcane Intellects and Glyphs that he has, and this is going to all start coming together very, very nicely.
I really like that Ben preferred the inefficient play on turn 3 with the Arcanologist, because he could have just played a Secret or the Arcane Intellect, but he knows that this matchup is based upon the aggressiveness of the Druid, of course, and that means an Arcanologist being already on board guarantees him more tools to just trade with the minions, and in the process being ahead of the curve. Jesus Christ. 4-mana Blizzard. I'll take that every single time in this matchup. Hydra might have been the problem for the freeze mage because there's a lot of HP and we'll have to sacrifice 2 cards for it, so there's a lot of value in it. But when you can grind it out with all those freezes and ping it, you can actually finish up the game pretty fast.
You can. And I know a lot of people playing more aggressive decks get tilted by what they perceive as an unfair amount that mage gets AoE off Primordial Glyph. It's actually above 50-50 that you pick up an AoE spell off Primordial Glyph. So you can rage at it, perhaps the card being too powerful. They shouldn't be able to get AoE 50% of the time and discount it off a Primordial Glyph. That's fine. But just, you know, the way the card works, when it is played, they are entitled to be offered an AoE effect against your aggro deck because it's above a 50-50 chance.
I agree. Although you can argue that mage just has too much generation of random cards.
Also a valid argument, yes. Definitely not going to hear any dispute from me on that one. This Hydra is going to get him in trouble, isn't it?
Yep.
I see it coming. I see it in his future.
We had seen that yesterday as well. A lot of players actually did regret the play of the Hydra. We have seen actually Hydra back-to-back. That was like 16 damage.
Frost Nova as well. Now he has so much lockout if he wants it. Arcane Intellect into Nova looks really nice this turn. And he still has a Blizzard to spare in hand. He still has a Volcanic Potion to start clearing this up. Deal with the Bittertide Hydra after the Blizzard has landed. There is a very real chance that Benene never gets to attack again this game.
And how did I say 16 damage from Hydra?
16?
Yeah. I'm like, nah, that's not really dividable by 3.
No. 24, I believe, is the number you're looking for.
Wow. He actually went for a buff on the Hydra.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to get it to live through multiple AoE effects, right? Like, he can happily afford to tank 3, 6, 9 more damage by getting that Hydra pinged or frozen a couple more times. But he wants it to survive so that when Ben runs out of ways to freeze it or interact with it, it still gets to connect with face and end the game. I think it's the right decision from Benene, honestly. Ding!
So nothing changed for the past 3 turns.
Nope.
When it comes to what was the choice for Ben and for Benene.
Well,
ooh, okay, well that changes a little bit because now after 2 Blizzards and 1 Frost Nova being already played, a second living mana might be the guarantee for Benene to have actually something stick to the board. Now Volcanic Potion seems like a decent play.
Decent is one word to use for it, yep.
How much HP is on the Hydra? 6.
Barrier, Potion, Trade, and Valet looks like the play here to finally now finish off that Bittertide Hydra. And yeah, he's done enough damage now where he can set himself up with a burn win condition even without having to go through the Alexstrasza route, leaving Alexstrasza to be a defensive option just to lock Benene out of the game. This is looking in the bag for Big Ben at this point.
Even with a living mana and Mark of the Lotus.
There's another Primordial Glyph. What did I say about the AoE?
Yep. And he's at 20 HP if he uses the hero power this turn. How much damage does Ben have? Currently in hand, it's 9 and 11 on board, 12 with the hero power, so not there yet. But with the access to 2 ice barriers and 2 ice blocks, that gives him so much card draw. Because it's just, you know, another turn.
Yeah, Ice Block draws a card, essentially, is what you the way you're looking at it when you're trying to set up these 2- and 3-turn burn plans at the end of the game. Ice Block is just a guaranteed turn. A guaranteed turn means you draw an extra card. So yeah, he has plenty of damage theoretically left in his deck at this point. Frost Nova.
No AoE, but a Frost Nova effect, which is enough. Gets him another card draw.
Yes,
basically.
it does. That's 1 extra turn where Ice Block doesn't even come into play. So that is, again, 1 extra card. Acolyte comes down. The plan is very, very clear right now. There's the Pyro. Sinking 2 to face. Frost Nova comes down. This one is looking like checkmate.
Does seem like it. Next turn, just a ice block, fireball. Oh, actually, whatever. You can just...
Do what you want, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we forgot to mention as well the Doomsayer having such a huge impact on this matchup.
We did speak about it before the match started,
We
actually.
did, yeah.
But
then
now we kind of forgot.
Brain fart, it escaped out of the ears. We forgot this crazed alchemist tech that Benene has with a nod towards this matchup. Primarily probably the shaman matchup, but this matchup is in there as well because of that Doomsayer that you would have been able to kill. And Ben did get that early game Doomsayer to go off, so very unfortunate for Benene on that front. Sink it.
No escape from the big, big fireball named Pyroblast. I can imagine the outrage if it still would cost 8 mana.
It does when you get it off glyph. And yeah, people are usually pretty outraged when that happens. So your story checks out.
Yeah. Well, this one seems to be in the bag for quite some time, actually.
Yes.
For Ben, it will be 2-1 for the Great Britain player. What team is he playing for? Which team?
It's M&M is the acronym, MNM. I'm not actually 100% sure what the full title is, what that stands for. It's a very new team that he's joined recently.
Good for them. For Benene, what are the options for him? He needs to clear the minions now, but at the same time, he would like to set up a ice block break at the same time. So I feel like he needs to just risk it, ignore the minions. I mean, apart from the Frostbolt, everything else clears him anyway.
Just confirmed, it's not an acronym, by the way. It is just MNM Gaming. There you go.
Like M&Ms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so far, looking like a very strong pickup for them as a player who, honestly, isn't even really considered a top player in the UK scene. There are 5 or 6 names that you would throw out before Ben, but that's not because we watch him play and go, oh, this guy's bad. It's just that he doesn't dedicate as much time to the competitive scene as other people have done. You know, he's dabbled in content creation before. He's done a little bit of streaming. He's done a little bit of casting. He's been trying to find his niche. He really loves the game. He loves being involved in the scene, but he hasn't really worked out which way he wants to pursue. He's now, as we just mentioned, been picked up by a competitive gaming team. So this is honestly really his first like full-time commitment into the competitive side of Hearthstone. And it's a pretty good first effort.
I would say that this is a really good experience for him, coming to Valencia, grinding it out in the biggest Swiss tournament, and be now in the quarterfinal, which seems like to be in control for him.
It does. He does now run in to a N'Zoth Paladin with his freeze mage, though.
With double forbidden healing.
I was just about to ask, but Lothar on point, as always, is way ahead of me. Double forbidden healing and the Ragnaros Light Lord in here. I'm going to assume no lay on hands. That would amaze me if that was in there as well, but
no.
I have to check. Nope, no lay on hands. All right.
But double forbidden healing and a Ragnaros Light Lord,
Yes.
it seems like enough, especially with Hydrologist in the deck.
Yes.
So you can get, let's say, Gateway Kodo onto 9 with the Ragnaros. Or even Redemption.
Or even Eye for an Eye, just to take the ice blocks out of the game, right? There are so many effective secrets. Even Repentance to protect a board against a Doomsayer can do work as well. Hydrologist against Freeze Mage, that card is bananas.
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 Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, so the matchup favors Benene. It will be a long, long match, though.
Most likely, yes.
Especially when players have nothing really to do for the first few turns. So Rainforce for the Paladin. Hopefully it sticks and you can play Spike Steed on turn 5, which is probably something that you will not get often. But at the same time, Ben has an Arcane Intellect on turn 3, which allows the 1/1 to live. So now if Benene just commits the minions, he might have something on the board on turn 5.
It's very true. And I would say Ben's actually whiffed pretty hard already. No Arcanologist, no Acolyte early on. You really do want to try and get a little bit of minion pressure. You can kind of get ahead on the board from turns 2 to 4 or 5 if you get the right curve with the Freeze Mage. And that way you can actually get a little bit of minion chip damage in, which is really, really important to be able to beat all of the healing effects they have. It's like your one Alex Straza just isn't enough, right, to beat all the healing that they have. So you want to kind of set up an initial plan where you just hit them a couple of times with minions, ping them down a little bit, try and set up a win condition that way. Ben does have a Archmage Antonidas in his deck, though. So he's actually whiffed again on the fact that he hasn't got the coin in this matchup, because that's 6 damage down the pan for him. The fact that he can't hold on to that coin all the way to Antonidas. In this kind of matchup with all this healing, you do quite often have to get super greedy, like go glyph in advance, pick something cheap, and then go Antonidas, coin, new primordial glyph for 2 mana, cheap spell that you got from the first primordial glyph, then try and pick a second cheap spell from the second primordial glyph as well. Like, you need massive levels of greed in this matchup a lot of the time.
Primordial glyph into a primordial glyph to keep it for Antonidas draw actually seems pretty decent.
That also works out very well.
I was about to say that I was quite surprised that Benene didn't play the Ooze on turn 3, because there's no weapon in Ben's deck.
Nope, none.
So he could have just went on curve with it and used the hero power on turn 4 instead. For some reason, he opted for the turn 3 hero power and be mana inefficient, which also now means he's inefficient on turn 4, when he could have set up a True Silver Champion, for example.
Sure.
Although, at the same time, you might just want to keep the True Silver Champion for later stages of the game for additional healing. But when you have a Forbidden Healing already in your hand, you know that you have a Ragnaros and a second Forbidden Healing. I don't think that's necessary. But at the same time, this matchup doesn't really end on turn 7 or 8. So you will have time to set up that weapon at some point in the game anyway. Well, now it seems like a really good turn to set up a Spikered Steed. Have a huge minion on board, and as we have been discussing this many times before, Freeze Mage has really a lot of problems to deal with a minion that has a lot of HP. And because of that fact, you need to deal with them with a Fireball, maybe a Pyroblast. This is why Ragnaros, the Fire Lord, was such a big deal in that matchup before.
Absolutely.
Because he was just immune to Blizzards, immune to Frost Novas. He was still dealing damage while being annoying just to kill. So cards that have just high value when it comes to HP are important.
By the way, I do want to give a nod back to this sequencing of the Ooze and the hero power that Benene made here, because you were talking about why didn't he play it on turn 3? Well, if he plays it on turn 3, his turn 4, where he's going to then try and curve into his Spike Ridge Steed, is just a hero power, like you said, or just a True Silver Champion. Whereas this way, he played the 3/3 on the turn right before he was going to coin Spike Ridge Steed, which means Ben couldn't just, say, ping away the hero power that he played that turn instead.
But it was just the reverse of it.
Right, but it exposes the minion that's likely to stick for the Spike Ridge Steed to the board for the least amount of time to do it that way around, right?
That's true. There's one less draw to get Frostbolt.
Yeah.
Also, another answer to Doomsayer, Stampeding Kodo.
Yes.
In this case, is not a 100% if you don't kill the Chronologist, and I believe that Benene will be just aggressive with that minion, but the Relying Blade seems to be helpful.
It is, yeah. Quite often, like, one of the niche skills, niche interactions in this matchup is actually holding on to a 2/3 minion in your hand for your Frost Nova Doomsayer turn. So then you go Frost Nova Doomsayer and play the other 2/3 as well, whether it's a Medivh's Valet or an Arcanologist. That way your opponent sometimes has to take a 50-50 to kill your Doomsayer. That's something that you especially try to do if they've already played their Curator in the matchup, because then you know that the beast has been drawn, the Stampeding Kodo has been pulled off the Curator.
Curator is such an elegant card when it comes to the design.
It is.
But at the same time, drawing 3 cards from a really powerful minion on zone seems a little bit too good, right?
It's got elements of both forms of Ancient of Law, which is a card that got nerfed when you could only choose one. And now Curator, with how many powerful dragons, murlocs, and beasts there are in the game, it has the same amount of total stats as an Ancient of Law. It draws 2 cards at least most of the time.
And it has a taunt
And
keyword.
it has Taunt, which almost has the same effect as the alternate option of healing from Ancient of Law. And remember,
Exactly.
Ancient of Law is a card that got nerfed.
And it was a class-specific card.
Exactly.
an epic.
Yep.
So, yes, it just shows how much the curator can do.
But it also goes to, like, give a nod to Blizzard's kind of design philosophy to a sense, because Curator was a very, very fringe card, a card that wasn't really powerful enough to be seen at all. Maybe a couple of builds of Dragon Warrior had it in. Outside of that, we weren't really seeing it too much. But then, you know, add some Murlocs to the game, add a beast that synergizes with Murlocs to the game. Suddenly, without actually adjusting a card itself, they've reintroduced it into the format, and it's now one of the strongest cards in the game.
I still remember the Dragon Warrior, turn 7 Curator. You have 100% Finley and a huge dragon.
Yes.
That was quite problematic.
It was. Well, Ben has decided that enough is enough, and he is just going to start this burn plan, try and threaten the fact that he has lethal as a follow-up here, make Ben commit a forbidden healing if it's there. Not really set up too well against Ragnaros Lightlord, but it looks like if Ragnaros Lightlord is in hand here, then Ben probably can't win this anyway. So he's trying to pull the forbidden healing out of the hand here and then curve into his Alexstrasza to lower it back down again.
I really like that play. That's his one win scenario, basically. So if he has an option to counter the forbidden healing with his Alexstrasza, otherwise useless.
Very nicely done from Ben in this spot.
Yeah, that was a fist bump. Really like that play. That's something that you don't see often. He recognized the situation. He recognized how he can win the game.
Ben gives the nod. The little nod of, yep, all right, you got me. Outplayed. Fair enough. The block's going to go down, though. That's a big, big problem for Ben at this point.
Yeah. It doesn't allow him to play the Pyroblast this turn, which is definitely problematic. But at the same time, what he can do is he can Frostbolt his opponent's face, play another block,
yes,
and ping, which is unfortunately not enough to win the game next turn. So he needs to find... Okay, so this next turn, he has to do several things to maximize, or at least give him a chance, give himself a chance to win the game. Freeze the entire board, freeze your opponent's face, and deal some damage to his opponent's face.
Correct. If you don't do all of those things, then after that point, you need Glyph Miracles to make anything happen. You need Glyph into more ice blocks.
I'm just trying to find how many consecrations are there. 2. So there's actually some merit to not using ice block this turn, in case you just freeze the entire board and see what's the outcome.
I like this equality from Benene as well. It does multiple things. It removes the threat of the Alexstrasza, which plays around a polymorph effect, allowing it to connect to the face from Primordial Glyph. It also puts the minions down onto 1 HP, which means if Blizzard is the tool that Ben tried to use to freeze, it would pop open the 5-1, right? He wouldn't have enough mana to go ping into Blizzard to then freeze the 2/6 and do anything relevant. So it means a minion will still get to attack. I said Ben might need a Glyph Miracle to come through this. Looks like he hasn't found it, though.
Yeah, the Kabbalism is something that, of course, he would like to get in the later stages of the game, but at the same time, he has no time to play it. So the 0 mana freezing potion actually doesn't look that bad.
Oh, this is nice, actually. Yeah, he can Volcanic Potion to clear the 1/1s. He can Frostbolt to clear the face, and then he can clear the face to freeze the face, and then he can Freezing Potion the 2/6, which actually can potentially find him that extra turn without using the ice block.
I like the Frostbolt to the face because that also denies the heal for 2.
Losing the block here just is never a winning line, though. I'm not sure about this play over. I think he had to play this turn without playing the ice block and just try and take 0 damage. I really like the play leading up to this with the burn into the Alexstrasza, but I think the sequencing after that has been a bit sketchy.
All because of the fact that the ice block was allowed to be popped.
Yes.
After the Alexstrasza. That was a problematic situation for him, which put him in an awkward line of play because that Pyroblast needs to be a finishing move and not a play when you still have ice block in play. So it's definitely weird for Ben. He needs another ice block from the Glyph, or at least an ice barrier.
Well, he does now have Blizzard and Freezing Potion on the next turn, right? So he can double freeze again, theoretically. That turn that I was talking about last turn, where he survives by freezing everything and not playing Ice Block, He can, to be fair, do that same thing again next turn with the Blizzard, but it leaves him very restricted on his remaining mana to be able to do anything else.
That is correct, but at the same time, he needs another burn spell. Well, if only a Frost Nova would have been present now in his hand.
Yep.
That freezing potion with the combination with Frost Nova would actually probably win the game.
Yeah. That's just game at this point.
Well, he still has one glyph, right?
It's true. So yeah, Antonidas, Glyph, Ice Block, all in the same turn.
Yes.
That's your win condition now.
Although it still pops the block, and then after that you can't win. So you're one off. Right? Is it 13? 14? Sorry?
He is at 12 right now, I believe, and then he'll, yeah, you'll get another True Silver swing in the meantime, right? Yeah. So you'll end up one off again. Cards, get out of the way. We want to see how much health he's got. 13. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So quite unfortunate.
Repentance was the pickup? Interesting choice. Nope.
That's about it.
Yeah, I'm just going to go through the motions. Acolyte ping. He's only going to get the one draw because of the Repentance anyway. But he's just going to go through the motions, try and find some kind of solution that he can't think of. That's just not going to be good enough. Tosses it out anyway. Tosses out the well played to boot. This one is going to come all the way down to the wire now. The Priest has gone down from Ben, and the Freeze Mage has gone down from Ben as well.
It was way closer than I thought it will be because of the play which Ben set up really beautifully. The turn 8 Fireball Frostbolt phase scared Benene enough to use the Forbidden Healing, which sets up a Alexstrasza to counter the Forbidden Healing, which was efficient enough to allow him to have a chance to win the game, but then a small, I think, misstep in the cards that were played. After that, as you mentioned, the fact that he was using the second Icebook a little bit too early, well, meant the game, basically.
Still a good position for Ben in this series. He basically had a free roll to win that Freeze Mage matchup as an unfavorable from an unfavorable position. Now he gets to go straight back into a favorable matchup with the Jade Druid. I like the full mulligan. Nothing there worth keeping. Wrath is not something that's going to interact. That looks much better for the UK representative here. He has Jade Ramp and he has Mana Ramp, and he has loads of both right now. He has 2/2 Jades already, and he has 2 accelerated Mana Crystals. Yes, Ben, you play a 1/1 on turn 4. Shuffle?
Shuffle turn 1 against a Zoth Paladin. I guess I can be a little bit slower.
Yeah. Wild Growth. Try and hold on to that coin for as long as you can, since you have those Auctioneers in your deck. Even better since you drew the Auctioneer. I like the face attack. I agree. Like, the face attack is nice, where you, in theory, that 1/1 can't punish you. You know the on-curve play is a Stonehill defender, though, which means that 1/1 is going to now hang around for a very, very long time. I like the thinking. It's one of those situations where, okay, fine. If the trade was going to happen anyway, free damage. Ben, you're a god. I take it all back.
I'm really impressed. I don't know, but which side? Because both were not now did something that I didn't anticipate at all.
In the meantime, while we were looking at that 1/1 trading scenario, Dirty Rat picked up off the Stonehill defender is a very, very nice adaptation from Benene. Not something that you would do in a regular matchup, but Benene understands that regular things don't work in this matchup, so he has to try and do something different. The something different that he's going to try and do is Dirty Rat that Auctioneer, so he can deny the card draw.
Or at least Jade Spirit.
Or
a Behemoth.
Right. Worst case scenario, you lower the Jade count by 1 a lot of the time. But if you can hit that Auctioneer, that is a huge, huge deal for you, because you are then sometimes able to just outvalue the hand, at least, of the Jade Druid.
But Ben is just going nuts on the curve. Turn 1 Idled into Wild Growth, turn 3 into a Jade Blossom, into turn 4 Aya. Screams overpowered.
Still hasn't used his coin.
And he has Auctioneer Wrath next turn. That is nuts. Benene has access to Equality and Consecration, but it's still one turn away from that, and he's still lacking the second part of that combo. No Pyromancers in hand as well. It might have been too early to use them anyway.
Almost certainly, yeah. Gluttonous Ooze can even get some value if he wants to in the early game here, and there's a curve for it. I think we just jam it. Auctioneer's only getting better the longer we wait.
Yep. I agree.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. There is, of course, True Silvers and Ashbringers to be dealt with, but just the tempo play of the Gluttonous Ooze there would have created a very, very dominating board position. Ben, content with the Auctioneer in hand to give himself time. He'll know that that Auctioneer should be secure. He won't be planning for that Dirty Rat that's been taken off Stonehill Defender. He'll more likely be planning for Tarim or Tyrion coming down.
It's an interesting choice that Ben didn't go for that Ooze, because when I think about it more, what he would achieve by playing the Ooze is, first of all, putting more pressure on the board and buying tempo, and putting Benene in the same spot like he did with that burn to the face.
Yeah,
That
right.
very defensive move has to be made by Benene, so most likely the Equality Consecration, and Ben would have been happy with that.
Right.
Because that's not enough, like, you know, the creatures are not big enough to just use that Consecration and Equality that turn. But he's still in a commanding lead.
Feel like we need some cards this turn. We're running out of gas. No real nice way to develop here. So if you also then don't draw a nice way to develop next turn off the top, then suddenly you're in trouble.
Goes a little bit slower.
I'm just not sure I like this.
Well, Benene wants to keep the Dirty Rat for turn 8, right? When he can go Dirty Rat, Equality Consecration in case it's something really big that he didn't anticipate. So
I don't know.
I don't know. It's really hard to kind of predict all those plays.
The lack of pressure this turn gives Benene an ability to develop onto the board, and then say you don't draw any pressure again next turn, suddenly you've actually let the N'Zoth Paladin get in front of you in the matchup, which is really not something you want to be doing.
I agree.
He did get a Jade card off the top, though, which means that situation isn't going to come to reality here. I don't think we interact with this can. Like, the risk of that secret being redemption in this spot is just too high. You know, if you don't deal with redemption now, that potentially Tyrion comes down on curve next turn, though. That's problematic for you as well.
I got the best deals anywhere.
Good. That's just a risk scenario, right? If Tyrion comes down next turn, doesn't really matter because you have the weapon destruction, so you can override the weapon with the second Tyrion and then destroy the final one. The only problem, of course, is in Zolf after that.
Yes. Also, not too sure about Wrath that turn over the Jade Blossom. Like, drawing 2 cards over getting, what, a 6/6 minion in play?
It's a setup just to make sure that the redemption can go off on a 4/5 minion that doesn't have a death rattle effect in this case.
Okay.
So next turn he can trade. If there's no, of course, if there's no taunt minion, he can just trade with Bane and get the redemption effect or the gateway Kodo on that.
Fair enough. I can see that. But Ben, I just feel like he's taken his foot off the pedal a little bit too much over the last couple of turns. The choice to hold back the Gluttonous Ooze, for example, that was a lower tempo play than he could have made. He held Auctioneer for 1 turn longer than maybe I would have done. He has just developed a little bit slowly. That's given Benene some time to start developing his own threats, push himself now towards a N'Zoth win condition.
And then Zoth might actually be really good in this matchup.
Oh, it's huge, yeah. Like if you just hit Tyrion, then it's often good enough. If you hit Tyrion and Cairn, yeah, we take those.
Getaway Kodo. With the Curator, I don't think... Oh, actually 10 cards, right? 3, 6... No, never mind. But he will burn 1 card. 3, 6, 9, 10... No.
10 cards
yes,
now, yes.
Exactly. So there will be a 1 card burn if that card is a Tyrion. Or an N'Zoth.
Or an N'Zoth, yeah. Even an equality could be very relevant. It's quite likely that Benene needs 2 equalities this game.
Because it seems like quality might be the case here.
All right.
Okay, that's fine.
Nice meme, Hearthstone.
We had a good meme yesterday when Ragnaros was played, Light Lord, then next an Osrook,
yeah.
and then devolve into a Ragnaros.
Yeah.
A time machine, basically. All right, well...
There's no secret up right now, right?
No, the Getaway Kodo was already popped.
Okay.
And there was only one hydrologist being played. The second one is in the hand.
There you go.
So this might be the turn when Benene might commit to the dirty red clear.
Very, very possible, yep. I can see that. Seems like a good time for it. Without the second equality in hand, he might be a little bit scared of doing that, just because Ben will be able to redevelop quite quickly with the hand size that he has.
Well, you have to take the risk, right? You
do.
did take a card that is really risky. Oh, interesting.
Just to consecrate, he's going to look for a quality Primordial Drake on the following turn, it looks like, if he's going with this.
He still has 2 Pyromancers in the deck and additional consecration as well. So he wants to grind it out, get more value. I guess the Primordial Drake clears up the entire board with the help of the Jade Golem. But the problem is you couldn't develop the Jade Spirit unless you get an Innovate from the top.
I actually don't. I've been advocating that Ben go harder on most turns than what he's done in this Jade Druid game. This is the one turn I'd really not like to see him jam out that Innovate, because he knows turn 10 now, you saw a Consecration get used. Probably likely a Consecration isn't going to get used unless there's another activator for the equality in hand, right? So going into turn 10, you know a quality Primordial Drake is a very likely thing to happen. You don't want to be overcommitting into that.
That's true, but at the same time, what do you do if your opponent just jams minions, right? You're not pressuring him enough, and without additional Jade Golems in your hand, you can't really pressure anyway. So you seem to fall back on the board control because the 4-8 and a 1-2 is not really pressing enough.
It's fair.
Benene has access to another creator to fill his hand, and he is getting closer and closer to that Tyrion. Second Getaway Kodo, by the way.
Yep, more and more value being generated by Benene, but we know if it just comes down to a pure value battle, then Jade Druid is unbeatable on that front. So Benene has to find a way to turn these cards into tempo, and N'Zoth is the way that he needs to do that, but he can't really get the job done with N'Zoth until the Tyrion is found, played, and killed.
Now Ben is in a very similar position in which he was last turn. He would like to overcommit to play minions, but he is lacking more Jade Golems. Only 2 are available in his hand. He still has 1 Jade Island in his deck. Now the board is pressing enough.
Yeah, I mean, now he's just threatening lethal, right? Like, he's demanding an answer every single turn from now until the end of the game.
For Benene, there's still a lot of options. He can just heal. He can use the Peacekeeper with the Kodo. There's the Tyrion. Tyrion, Getaway Kodo, sacrifice your minion. Isn't that slow?
Put your faith in the light.
Well, you need to kill your Hydrologist in this situation.
Yes.
100%.
Wow.
So what this says is, Ben, that's not a Getaway Kodo. It's not a redemption. Attack first with your hero power. Take the 6 damage to the face.
And it looks like it might work. There's actually no reason not to swipe first, even if it's even if it's noble sacrifice. Then like swiping first doesn't actually make a difference. Primordial Drake even, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
If he's going Primordial Drake, then it did make a difference for the noble sac sequencing. So I guess what Ben did with his play that he had in mind does make sense.
6 damage because of a bluff, but at the same time, I don't know if it was
Yeah, would
worth
you
it.
rather have a bluff into 6 damage or another Tyrion?
Yeah, I'd rather have another Tyrion, right? So especially with you're getting closer and closer to the end of your deck, and that means the old god will appear at some point, and you will get 2 taunt minions with divine shields, which I cannot express it enough how big of a problem that is for a druid player.
Very true. Speaking of old gods, Ben has one of his own that we haven't mentioned yet. He is packing the yogg-saron in his build of Jade Druid, so...
Just don't mention it.
No? Just ignore it?
Just ignore it. I mean...
No one wants to talk about the elephant in the room. There's only one elephant we're going to talk about in Jade Druid, and it's the green elephant.
There's no behemoth anymore, I guess.
You might be right. All right. Way to spoil my fun, Lothar.
It's all right.
It's usually my job. What's going on?
All right, so... Okay, I really didn't anticipate that.
I did not either. He's just going to chill and... hey!
Oh, here we go.
Speaking of the green elephant in the room.
Now, what's your porcelain?
So Ben now has to make the decision of whether he's happy enough with this board state, because this is a pretty clear indicator from Benene that he wants Ben to commit further into an equality clear, right? He's trying to turn that Forbidden Healing into more pressure, but the Ashbringer goes down. Ben, I guess you could say rewarded for holding on to that Gluttonous Ooze to this point. We advocated all the way back, destroying the Rallying Blade with it very, very early on. But he does get a full 15 damage denial out of that Ashbringer by holding on to it until now.
And 5 armor. But at the same time, how much value would generate that Ooze on the board since the beginning of the game?
That is the big unquantifiable factor in that debate, yeah.
Well, now something has to be done. Seems like the Dirty Rat will come down with the equality and clear.
Oh, if this is Auctioneer, then maybe, just maybe, we have a game. It isn't, though.
Yeah, not that big of a deal. But as I said, if Auctioneer would have been killed, no way of going infinite with Jade Idols is a big deal.
Right. Yeah, to clarify what you mean, I understand, but for those of you looking at home, obviously you can still go infinite Jade Idol putting them in your deck. You just can't then continuously rip them out at the same time and just get massive amounts of pressure.
Yep. Still has Nourish.
Does. That's a good point, yeah.
It kind of translates to 3 Jade Idols.
Yes.
So I like this setup because what it does, it also gives you the Murloc on board, and you can actually play the secret as well if it's in case it's Repentance, an example. He picked up Redemption. Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
There he is. He who shall not be named.
well, it's lethal, right?
But does he see it?
7 cards left. What I meant, of course, is the fact that he will just fatigue himself.
Ah, of course. Yeah, Yogg in a very heavy control matchup like this is something that you do genuinely try and avoid playing unless you're super desperate, because there's always that small percentage chance that you get your second Jade Idol burned by playing yogg-saron if you don't have it in hand already. There it is.
There we go.
All right. So there's a little bit of a security blanket at least. I'm going to go Jade Behemoth here. Does use his Innovate, which reduces his explosivity with the Auctioneer Jade Idol stuff later on, but needed some kind of pressure on board that turn for sure.
So now it's the turn for Benene to take control of the board and try to develop as many minions as possible. There's a small move that allows him actually to do that, which is Peacekeeper and Kodo. And, okay. Peacekeeper and Kodo, which kills the Jade Golem, but the power that he puts on the board is not really that threatening. Now the Tarim is a, let's say, reset at some point of the game, when you can just clear your opponent's entire board.
Gonna go True Silver here instead of Kodo, just to be able to clear the 3/6. This neutralizes the most power on board, makes a lot of sense to me. Can hold that Kodo for a rainy day at this point. The 1/8 will be able to get sniped no matter what from this position.
How much damage is that? It's 8, 12 bursts from hand. It's 4, actually 3 of lethal this turn for Ben.
So I think Ben should be swiping this turn. He understands that Tarim is a huge threat. Jade Idol can come down just to threaten lethal once again from this position. It's worth noting that for a while there, he had double Feral Rage swipe in hand, which is basically the max amount of burn damage you can possibly put together with Jade Druid in a single turn without innovates and such.
What is the draw for Benene?
It's a whiff.
It is.
This is one of the big problems with N'Zoth Paladin is that, yes, you can always theorize of all these ways it can win all these matchups. You know, it has the equality clears, and then you can make this incredible board with Tyrion. But the simple fact of the matter is, to make all of that happen in the same game, you have to draw an incredible amount of cards to do it consistently. And the deck plays no card draw.
Yes, exactly. Like, it stopped doing that for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And the problem is, when you have equality and consecration, what you need to do after that play is to capitalize on the tempo gain. And if you can't do that because you're lacking resources, then you're just falling turn and turn back to back into the same problems, because your opponent just refills the board and you're facing, again, minions that are requiring the clear, but you're running out of answers, and then you just face yourself in a situation like this one. There's a 1-8 and a 9-9 on the board, and what do you do with them?
Yeah, and now Benene is just losing a grip on this. His answers have been really nice up until this point. He's never been in a particularly problematic position. Hold on. 8 clears the Primordial Drake perfectly. Then you have double Feral Rage, that's 12. Sorry, double Earthen Scales for 12. 9 + 1 + 1 + 1. Believe he's 1 damage off lethal in this spot.
Yes, exactly 1 off lethal.
But yeah, the point I was in the middle of making is that he had nice answers. He was never threatened with a board state that had 2 big Jades on it that was threatening lethal over and over and over again. Wow. He would have actually had lethal if he ripped the 0 mana excess mana at the very start of his turn. Would have then been able to innovate the hero power through. No, he wouldn't, because he has to do the 8 to the Primordial Drake with the Feral Rage attacks anyway. Let me fix my face.
We're thinking about 2 different scenarios then. Never mind.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because he attacks with the Jade Golem anyway, has 1 damage through, then the 8, and 10, 11, 12 damage anyway with the hero power. You just have 10 mana available anyway. Well, doesn't really change much in the matchup here, because he is in the commanding lead. The deck has Jade Idols there. Let's go.
It was actually really risky to throw that out there, because if he'd have roped as it was throwing out, there was a potential that he could have like played the extra Jade instead of shuffling, and then because the rope picks the far left option, I believe, when it ropes out.
I think that's true, actually. Yeah. And the Tarim doesn't really represent anything here anyway.
Nope.
That's something that a lot of people didn't think about when the card was introduced to the game, is that Tarim is a very aggressive card. It can be used, of course, in a defensive way, but what it can allow Paladin to do is have access to burst damage that usually they lack. But that requires board control, board presence. And in this situation, it seems like Benene is lacking that aspect.
It does, and this is what I was talking about. Look, the situation has got so serious for Benene. The fidget spinner has come out, guys. That's when you know it's got real.
Sweet.
I really hate fidget spinners, just for the record.
I don't get the hate on gadgets.
I mean, I play with an actual genuine skill toy as opposed to a piece of plastic that goes around in a circle. So.
Wow, what a fantastic, fantastic sentence. This is like arguing Hearthstone can't be an esport.
Oh, Lothar, please.
People have their own taste.
Fidget spinners are dumb, right?
Well, you can say that we're going to an end of a match because we are running out of things to say.
It's true. This game has reached the point of formality here. And there you see it. Finally, the 8 plus the 3. Ben gives the fist pump. very happy players we've seen going through here. Ben echoing the actions of Meliador, I believe it was, in the previous series.
Did the same.
I feel like I'm at EVO the way these guys are popping off right now.
Yesterday, that was actually amazing.
It was great,
yeah, right. People are so passionate
Yes.
in that scene. But I see it now.